So I woke up today and chose violence because I am going to be going over a bunch of anime that I think are overrated. I thought I would start off small with anime that people wouldn't get too upset about and gradually get more and more heated to where they'd be considered hot takes. Before I get into this, I want to say that just because I find these anime overrated, that doesn't mean I hate all of them. In fact, there are some anime on this list that I love a lot. I just think that a lot of these shows either have glaring issues with them that make me reconsider how good they actually are, and also some other things which doesn't have anything to do with the anime at all. It's just that these external factors sort of ruined my experience of the series, so don't take this as an objective video. This video is extremely biased and I'll make sure to go into depth as to why I feel a certain show is overrated. But without further ado, let's get into some overrated anime. Demon Slayer is an anime that I think is overrated. When I was thinking of making this video, pretty much the first anime that came to mind was Demon Slayer. I don't think it's a horrific crime to consider this anime overrated, but I can see some people being annoyed by this. Okay, yes, this anime is beautiful. Ufotable, the studio behind Demon Slayer, has always made visually beautiful shows. I mean, just look at the Fate series. The action, the movement, all of it makes my eyes ejaculate. But the thing is, everything else about the show is... it's not that good. Look, I know it's pretty cringe to say a show is carried by its animation, but in Demon Slayer's case, it's just true. Season 1 was pretty boring for the most part up until the end, which is when it started getting attention in the first place. Mugen Train was pretty boring up until the end, which is the part people only talk about in Mugen Train. Season 2 was actually pretty good. I'll give the show that. I had so much fun watching Season 2, mainly because of how intense and hype it was, which I feel like the previous seasons lacked somehow. And Tengen is the best Hashira we've seen so far. Yeah, that's fucking right. I said it. And Season 3 was shit. It was just shit. The characters are all boring to watch. Tanjiro is just a nice guy. That's his character. And I just need more. Like, I need to see something interesting. And probably the worst part about Demon Slayer is the structure of every arc. Literally every arc, Tanjiro and friends go somewhere. Big strong demon bitch appears. They fight. But it's really hard and they almost die a lot. And then Tanjiro and friends get random power-ups and win. Cue the sad demon backstory, and Tanjiro being nice. See, when every arc is essentially the same, it really tests your patience, and I've stopped watching after Season 3, so who knows, maybe the infinite Tsukiyomi or whatever the fuck is good. I don't know, all I know is that I'm done with Demon Slayer. That time, I got reincarnated as a slime. This one just pisses me off because I loved the first season, and especially the first half of the second season. But I'm sorry, everything after either infuriated me or fucking put me to sleep. Now, this one's special because I don't actually know the general opinion of the later seasons. All I know is through the conversations I've had in person. And while this might be cheating, I don't give a fuck. I want to rant. Please, explain to me how we had a fucking banger in the first half of Season 2. So much happened, and by so much, I mean everything was chaotic. And the end with Rimuru becoming a demon lord was hype as fuck. How do we go from this to easily one of the most disappointing second halves to a show I've ever seen? They spend around, I think, 3 episodes talking about what they're going to do, then proceeding to show us in later episodes with everything progressing with no difficulty. I'm sorry, but what the fuck? These are 2 Demon Lord factions going against each other, only for the other side to actually be extremely weak and useless. And the worst offender of this was fucking Dio. They had been setting him up to be this big antagonistic force since Season 1, and for him to actually be whatever we got killed my soul. I'm so down for subverting expectations, but when it's done like this, come on, man. I felt betrayed watching the second half of Season 2, and after all these years, I still get so frustrated thinking about it. And where do I start with Season 3, man? Season 3 is the definition of not tell, don't show, but actually tell, then show. Which is weird, because it sounds fucking stupid. Why am I watching these random bitches talk around a table for 100 episodes? Okay, it wasn't 100, but it fucking felt like it. It's crazy too because I love dialogue. I love watching characters talk. Hell, one of my favorite episodes in anime is 2 people talking for 20 minutes, and one of my favorite anime of all time is the Monogatari series, which 90%, and I'm not fucking joking, 90% of it is fucking dialogue. You need to give me a reason to want to watch endless meetings. You need to make me care. But when you show me a large section of an episode of characters talking who I have no idea who they are or what they're talking about, why should I care? And for the series to tell us what the characters are going to do through the meetings and then do them in later episodes, please tell me. Do you think I'm a fucking idiot? Do you think that I need to be spoon-fed everything they're gonna do before they do it? Just fucking do it! You don't need to tell me step by step what they're going to do. Show me. Show me the characters progressing their empire. It doesn't need to be 10 minutes explaining how these motherfuckers need to build a road to get to the other places and trade. This series frustrates me so much because it had such a strong start, but fizzled into this. Haikyuu. Saying Haikyuu was overrated makes me really fucking sad, because when I first watched this show, I had never experienced this level of hype before. Scenes that would, with no exaggeration, leave me holding my breath with how tense some of these games of high school volleyball got. Maybe it was because of my lack of experience with anime at the time, but after watching Haikyuu again after 5 years, all I can say is that it just doesn't hit the same. I remember when I'd talk about Haikyuu with people and they'd say that every game is the same, it's just volleyball. I'd kind of scoff at them. They clearly just didn't get it. But on rewatch, I realized that these motherfuckers were right. My biggest problem with Haikyuu has got to be the reused animation. I genuinely never noticed it when I first watched it, but now that I've been around in the anime sphere for a while, it's way too distracting. Clips of characters doing the same animated move over and over again really took me out of the show. I get that it saves money and time, but it really affected my enjoyment on rewatch. Also, to be clear with what I'm saying, it's not the fact that they do the same move a lot throughout the show, it's that the show presents the move in the exact same way every time. The same angle, same everything. This really makes it feel like I'm watching the same games over and over again. I held out all the way to season 3, my favorite season of the show, to try and capture that feeling it originally gave me. That scene of Tsukishima blocking Ushijima's spike and falling in love with volleyball, it just didn't hit the same. I know it's crazy for an anime to sort of be ruined by reused animation, but it just did. Another thing is that I forgot about a lot of the less memorable games. The games I remembered were the really hype ones that were very intense, so I was surprised to see ones I'd completely forgotten about, and it was kind of boring to watch. I was more or less waiting for them to end so we could get to the more well-known games, and I know it's more realistic and Haikyuu is based more on reality, but it just didn't help my enjoyment of the series.
A silent voice. So this is a weird one for me. When I first watched this movie, I absolutely loved everything about it. And when it did come out, it was up for contention as one of the best anime movies to ever be made. So it was to my surprise when I rewatched this movie not too long ago that it really isn't as good as we made it out to be. Look, this movie is stunning, and not just the animation, the camera work, there's so much symbolism and foreshadowing, it's so much fun to watch. All of it is amazing, and it's to be expected being made by Kyoto Animations, the studio that somehow made a slice of life about dragon maids that have better animated fights than most battle shonen. Despite how beautifully made this movie is, that doesn't fix a lot of its issues. The main selling point for A Silent Voice is that emotional aspect. How deep and complex people's emotions are, and how it's so easy to give into the negative traits that you have, that in turn build up into more and more negative thoughts until ultimately, yeah. That's its selling point, and to be fair, when I was younger, I loved this movie, but on rewatch, I couldn't help but feeling everything was a bit rushed. I know this movie is based on a manga, and I have a slight feeling that a lot got cut out. This is because when watching this movie, I felt like I missed something, like I've missed a couple of scenes or important information, and I could be wrong. I could definitely be wrong in thinking that. It's just that the way this movie progresses, it feels almost superficial, like it's trying to be deeper than it actually is. A lot of the characters aren't interesting at all, and even Shoko and Shoya, while they're the most developed characters, I still feel like I didn't really know them all that well. The characters don't feel like people, they feel like they're just a necessity to make the movie work, and when you're making a story about complex and deep emotional people, you need them to feel like people. And because of that, nothing feels earned. At the end of the movie where Shoya finally lets go of all of his trauma that was holding him back, and he's finally able to truly see people, not just exes, but actual people, and everything that was once muffled, trying to block people out, finally he can hear them. It's supposed to be this very emotional moment, and on its own, it's definitely a beautiful scene. But in context to the overall movie and everything we've seen, it just doesn't work because it didn't feel earned. So yeah, crazy how these last two anime have been series I've loved in the past, but just, I guess as I've grown and recently rewatched them, I now see things differently. It's weird. It's something you don't really think about, and it's also scary because if I keep rewatching shows that I love and I haven't seen in years, there's definitely going to be shows that I think are a lot worse on rewatch, and that's fucking scary. Code Geass. I'm probably going to get a lot of flame for this, but just hear me out. I love this show. This is the only show on this list that I actually like a lot. And while I do love this series, that doesn't change the fact that this show is so fucking random. We'll go from crazy 10 out of 10 moments, all filled with action and tension, leaving you at the edge of your seats, to a whole episode of Lelouch chasing a cat. Can you at least kinda see where I'm coming from? And this happens a lot throughout the series, and I feel like a lot of people kinda just forget about it. Does anyone even remember the arc with the other Geass and Lelouch's school friend? Because I don't. Look, if you're not convinced at how random the show is, if you can just explain this one moment to me in the show, just this one, I'll forget about everything I said about the show. Just like how I forgot about this arc. So in episode 22, yeah, I'm fucking going there. In episode 22, the show is pretty much over. Lelouch puts his trust in Yuffie and decides to form a pact to make Japan great again. So yeah, the show is over, and as they're talking about Lelouch's power, he just up and says, yeah, wouldn't it be funny if you just killed all the Japanese? Motherfucker, what? Out of everything he could have said, he chose to say the one thing that would destroy any chance of Japan being peacefully built together in case all of a sudden his Geass decided to fuck with him. He could have said, make me a sandwich, but no, his first thought was to say, kill all the Japanese. Come on. And it's moments like these that just make it to where I can't say this is one of the best anime to ever be made. I think despite all the nonsensical moments that do occur in Code Geass, it's still an amazing show, but it just can't be one of the best. And if there's another thing I can talk about, it's the ending. Now, if you love Code Geass, then you know that everyone says that it has the best ending in all of anime. Not just one of the best. So imagine me, yeah, watching the show, anticipating the moment I get to see the greatest anime ending of all time. And as it was approaching, I thought to myself, oh, he's trying to make everyone hate him so that everyone's hatred will be directed towards him, and when he eventually gets overthrown, like, I don't know, dying, it'll bring everyone together. And I was like, surely not, right? That's too easy. This is going to be the best ending of all time. It can't be that simple. And that's exactly what it was. And by no means is this the anime's fault. My expectations were way too high for how hyped up everyone was making this ending out to be. And it is one thing I've noticed about myself. Whenever I hear a lot of hype behind something, I subconsciously build a lot of expectation for it. I know for a fact if I didn't have those previous influences from others, then I would have liked the ending a lot more. But unfortunately, this is just how it is. And while I recognize this isn't the anime's fault, it still left me disappointed. Cowboy Bebop. Now this one has a similar issue to Code Geass's ending in that everything I had heard about this show before watching was that it was easily a top 5 show of all time. Everywhere I looked, whether it be recommendations or top 10 anime lists, they always had Cowboy Bebop pretty much in the top 3 every single time. So imagine me, yeah, a new anime watcher getting ready to witness a top 3 show of all time. My expectations were so high that I was extremely disappointed when I eventually did end up watching it. Despite that, I liked the series a lot. The characters were fun. I especially liked the episodes with the fridge. That was cool. It just wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting an amazing story with amazing characters, but what I ended up with was a fun slice of life with an underlying story somewhere in it. The main character, Spike, I honestly didn't really care for at all. I never felt compelled by his story or his backstory. And even with the ending of the anime, it was kind of just meh. And when the main character isn't able to grip me into the story and make me care about his struggles, it kind of feels like a waste. Most of the side characters I found myself liking a lot more. I was interested in what they were dealing with than the main overarching story that was slowly being built up throughout the series. When I heard the show was one of the best anime of all time, that means its quality was on the likes of Attack on Titan and Vinland Saga for me. And I can't for the life of me see how this is one of the best anime to ever be created. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I'm missing something. Most of the episodes I found to be pretty good, nothing really amazing, but it's solid. It's a solid show that I'd recommend to anyone. Death Note. I feel that my opinion on this show is probably not the most popular, so that's why I decided to talk about this one last. And before you ask, no. I don't think it's overrated because the series fell off after L's death. I think the entire show itself is overrated. Light and L's dynamic in the intellectual cat and mouse chase is 100% the highlight of the show. They both have really good chemistry with each other. The interactions and trying to one-up each other was fun to watch. However, every other aspect isn't up to the same quality if I had to be honest. A lot of the show feels very slow. I feel like a lot of episodes when they weren't focusing on Light and L's interactions just weren't as interesting and it affected the quality of the show for me. Some parts I found to be either boring or uninteresting. For example, while I like Misa and how she kinda added this chaotic element into the very calculated and methodical duel between two geniuses, her introduction arc with her being the second Kira really wasn't that interesting, and they spend way too much time on it. It could have so easily been a lot shorter, and all that focus with the news station dragged on way too much. I feel like the show spends a lot of time on unnecessary stuff just to add length to the series, and sure, sometimes that's not so bad, but when it happens consistently, it makes it harder to watch. Another thing, I think Light is an amazing character and protagonist for the series. Something I had wished ever since I watched Death Note, and honestly till now, I wish his character development was a lot more nuanced. It's a very interesting concept with a smart teenager who gets corrupted by this supernatural force and it deludes him into thinking he's a god, and you watch his deterioration into a more and more horrible person as the series continues. I just think it could have been done so much better. When you actually take a step back and look at his character development, you'll find that he 180s almost instantly. In episode 1, he's this normal teenager living his life, going to school, being a very good son to his family, and then you go to episode 2, he's suddenly a psychopath with a god complex. Now to me, this jump seems a bit quick, don't you think? And sure, you can make the argument that maybe he was always like this from the beginning, He was always secretly the psychopath who just never had a reason to act on his impulses until now, and honestly, I'd be willing to consider that if he hadn't lost his memories later on in the series. When we see Amnesiac Light, it's almost insane how different he is. He has extremely high morals and wants to take down Kira lawfully. He's a lot more caring to those around him, especially Misa. So it's clear from him losing his memories that he was never this dormant psychopath ready to sprout. It's that he got corrupted by the Death Note, and that is what made him turn into this horrible psychopath we've all come to love. And with this cleared, his descent into what he eventually becomes is just way too fast because they literally happen between 2 episodes. And I recognize that if that did happen, then we wouldn't get the best scene in the entire series with L completely playing Light and playing into his narcissism that allowed him to not only prove that he exists, but also narrow him down to the Kanto region in Japan. It's truly a dilemma. Sacrifice the best scene in the entire series because it gets Light to kill who he thinks is an innocent person and make his character arc more seamless and interesting, or keep the best scene in all of Death Note. For me, I'd sacrifice it to make Light a more interesting character. Just think about it. How interesting would it have been for him to weigh in on the moral dilemma of killing innocent FBI agents doing their job, all to ensure he doesn't get captured? We do know that before Light had the Death Note, he had very high morals and cared a lot for justice. I really can't see how killing a few murderers would suddenly throw those morals he's had for his whole life away instantly, and he'd be fine with killing innocent people all in a span of 1 episode. If they had made Light's character development a bit slower and more thought out, it'd make his descent into a psychopath with a god complex so much more interesting. And also, the series fell off after L's death. That is just factually correct, I'm sorry. Nia and Mello just aren't anywhere near as interesting as L, and while I did see potential for them to be as good a foil for Light, the anime just didn't give us enough time to become invested in their characters. And also, I've been saying this from day one, the ending is shit. On its own, I think it's pretty good. Light gets exposed and ends up dying by Ryuk's hand. It's pretty poetic. It's just the build-up and execution was so stupid. It was like, let's swap the Death Note, and Light's like, huh, I knew you were gonna swap the Death Notes, so I did stuff to make sure that didn't happen. But then Nia's like, well actually, we accounted for that, and we have the real Death Note. Then Light dies. Oh yeah, and what the fuck happened to the other guy? That was so random. All in all, Death Note is considered a classic and one of the best anime ever, but I really don't think it deserves it. It just has way too many problems with it, and that is why I think Death Note is overrated. And that concludes me rambling about a bunch of anime I think are overrated. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like, that would be very appreciated, and if you're new here, subscribing would mean a lot. If you like this video, I could always make a part 2, or even make a video about anime I think is underrated. But yeah, that's all I have to say for now. See ya.